Five, let's do this thing. We got news. We got news. Let me get started with this first because I've talked about it all afternoon. The Supreme Court has now ruled in favor of Alabama's petition. This is just coming out as we were coming back on the air. It's a 6-3 vote to, let's see if I can explain this properly without having been able to read the opinion, but it gives Alabama the ability to vacate the ruling, the previous ruling that Alabama had to draw these two minority districts has been thrown out. It was a 6-3 decision. Alabama can now redraw its districts without the encumbrance of the previous district requirements under the old law, under the old thinking. Now, what happens? I don't know. It's going to depend on the political will of the Alabama legislature, who I'm pretty sure, and I hate to speak a little bit out of turn because I'm not completely up to speed as of what was going on Friday, that they are still capable of, I think they're still in special session. They merely passed the bill to give the governor the ability to postpone the primary, allowed the maps to be reset, and then move forward from there. So there has been a 7-0 map floating around based on what I see with the screaming headline. And again, I think we've had it up before anybody else was able to even post it. None of the news outlets here around Alabama have gotten this up yet. Let me scroll through here and try to get you the latest. Over the course of the next hour, there will clearly be some takes and interpretations, maybe even reactions from people down in Montgomery. I would imagine if the governors, let me just say this before I'm probably being unfair because it's a little presumptive, but they've been so slow and asleep at the switch on how they reacted to the courts. I hope they have a statement ready. I hope they have a map ready. I hope they're back in session tomorrow and knock this out. I hope the governor will make the delayed declaration and set the date and do all this stuff immediately, and let's just get on with it. So let me, again, hot off the presses, breaking news coming across. Supreme Court has vacated the district court order requiring the two race-based districts in the state of Alabama. What they have vacated, just to be clear, for those that are kind of, it's like a spider web of cases, but the previous case where Alabama was sued, and it was Eric Holder and Barack Obama's group and Mark Elias, they were going around to the South looking for wins to try to take advantage of what I believe is the abuse of the interpretation of the Voter Rights Act. I'm not even blaming them. It was a smart strategy, and it worked for them for 2 years because they were able to sue Alabama and particularly Louisiana. And then this lower court, a 3-judge panel, kept throwing out every attempt that the legislature made, saying it wasn't good enough, and then decided to draw the districts themselves. By the way, the map they used with the 3-judge panel came from a 19-year-old college kid. Not that a 19-year-old college kid couldn't come up with a good map. Maybe they did, but it wasn't a good map because now the courts have ruled all that is bull squeeze. So now it's on like Donkey Kong. So just this afternoon, just to recap where we are nationally in this story, the state of Virginia has raced to the Supreme Court to try to get the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn their Supreme Court that threw out their attempt to draw things on behalf of the Democrats. That seems, again, just like pure folly. I'll let a legal scholar interpret why a court would even consider that after a state Supreme Court ruled on a state matter. This is not a Supreme Court matter, but we'll see if the court takes up this filing. Then Mississippi today got clarity from the 5th Judicial Circuit, not the Supreme Court, but the 5th, that they can now vacate previous rulings that forced their map drawing. And so Mississippi is now within their latitude to redraw. Louisiana, as of last Friday, had already postponed their elections and begun their process to redraw. In Louisiana, of course, they had the big test case that brought this whole sequence of events about in the last week and a half from the Supreme Court ruling. So now Alabama has gotten a favorable ruling from the Supreme Court. It took them about an hour after the filing deadline that Clarence Thomas set We were watching that through the whole first part of the show, as I have gone on endlessly about this remap war, and now Alabama's gotten the ruling that it wanted. There's no place for the Democrats to go to appeal that. That's the Supreme Court now twice saying with clarity that the old way of drawing these maps is unconstitutional. You can't keep the maps. I would argue, and this is a political argument, not a legal argument. I'll let the guys down in the legislature decide which way they want to go. And I think a lot of it is political will and whether they're going to cave into the delay tactics of Ketanji Brown Jackson shoving this thing against the wall by dragging her feet for 7 months and forcing states to have to do this stuff in haste. If they're going to play into that and allow the 7th district, which is Terry Sewell's district, to remain in place just to keep trouble down, because some of them are uncomfortable last week after that session. You still got people that flinch when they're called, when they pull out the old everybody's racist handbook when the Democrats lose. Every time they lose, everybody's racist. And it's so tired and stupid and old, and it just lost all of its sting. It's just a dead argument. We got bigger things to deal with in this country than these nonstop. It's like a tuba with one damn note, and it's all you hear is that one note the whole time. This tuba's just like womp womp. It can't even play a song. It's just this one note. So some Republicans are still vastly intimidated by that stuff, and I think it could cause them to wimp out and leave the 7th district in place. Which, again, my political argument, based on just a rudimentary understanding of the law, is her district, that 7th district, has been unconstitutionally drawn for probably 30 years now. It's already been, it was done before the lawsuit happened in 23 and forced Alabama to redraw. That district was there, and it was drawn for the exact same reason, and it was supposed to placate the Democrats and keep them off the backs of the state of Alabama. But Obama and his boys came up for more, and now they're getting what's coming to them. They're getting snake eyes. Fascinating. All this stuff's history going down right in front of us. Now, keep in mind, it's 2026, and we are due to redraw the maps in 4 years anyway. We do it by standard practice every 10 years after the census. You got new data, people move, demographics change, communities grow, communities shrink. And so every single state in the country will get the new census data in 10 years and redraw there. All this activity to redraw all these congressional boundaries in the middle of a census, in between censuses, is kind of unusual. The only time you usually see it happen is when there's litigation and states are forced to go back to the table, which happens a lot in the South, because the Democrat Party smartly has been riding the issue of the South's history against Southerners for decades now, and a lot of that stuff it's just expired. The time has expired. The country's moved on, and we got to start going back to a constitutional process. So here we are with validation from the Supreme Court this afternoon. So I'm doing my best I'm a scrolly-poly right now. I am scroll-opotamus, looking through the reactions coming across from online. Still yet to see anything official from the state. Maybe we'll see something here before we get done at 6 o'clock. How about that? Michelson Laser Vision bringing you the show tonight. Dr. Mark, Dr. Jennifer, and the whole team ready to help you see better with the miracle of LASIK. I am 7 years on and still 2015. As far as I know, I haven't been checked in about a year. Probably a little due to get in there myself just for follow-up. But my eyes have been great. I had no problems after my procedure, and the world was opened up to me. Even though I didn't deserve it because I was so dismissive and stubborn for all those years and just wouldn't even go get checked for it. I just happened to be in there because I was doing business with Dr. Mark. They wanted to come on the show, and I thought, while I'm here, I even thought, he's not going to be able to do anything for me. Let me just do it out of courtesy. Boom. It made sense. The instruction they gave me, that wasn't a sales pitch, but very much the information on how the procedure works so you can make an informed decision. It's an elective decision, so you want to be educated. That's what really got me going. Okay, all right, yep, that makes sense. Wouldn't have known any of that if I hadn't gone in. So go in. If you're in glasses or contacts, just do yourself that favor, and you may still decide against it for whatever reason, but at least you've done your due diligence. You didn't do it out of ignorance like I did and put it off. You've done it because you want to take care of yourself and see if it works for you. The technology is only improved where they can do so many more things than they could just a few years ago to fix things you might have gotten turned down even by the Michelson practice a few years ago. But now the technology's improved where they can fix you. They can help you. Even old cases where people back in the day would do a different type procedure and wind up with scar tissue, they can fix that. In most cases, talk to them. It's Michelson Laser Vision, downtown UAB Highlands, a little bit off the main campus from the main UAB facility. You'll find it real easy to get in and out of that building. They're up on the 5th floor. Reach out to them at michelsonlaservision.com, michelsonlaservision.com. Back with more here in just a minute. Y'all stay tuned. Y'all, another one of our great medical professionals here on the show is, of course, good friends over at Southern Skies Dermatology, southernskiesdermatology.com. Man, skin cancer is real, and as it gets warmer and we're just outside more and more, and just be real, we wind up wearing a whole lot less clothing and out at the lake and the beach and wherever we are this summer, you can get sunburned before you know it. So do the right thing to protect yourself. I know those sun shirts are real popular. I need to get a couple of those. My sons wear those things. Pretty comfortable too when the sun's beating down on you. So you've got those things that we've all been taught. Because honestly, I hate sunscreen, all that slimy sunscreen. But you got to do the things and wear the big hats and do that stuff. And one of those things, in addition to just being preventive, is doing some preventive maintenance, and that's going to get checked at Southern Skies Dermatology. These guys are wonderful. They're dedicated only to skin cancer. It's what they've done for years, and they'll help you too. Southern Skies Dermatology.com. Southern Skies Dermatology. Great locations all over. Dr. Mario is just wonderful to get to know. Such an expert at what he does. He's an expert in the Mohs procedure, which is the way you want to have this kind of thing done. It's a micro layer process, which takes out just a little bit at a time. And then they check it as they go, and they can stop when they have it all. That way that you don't have too much tissue to heal, or they at least know they have it all, which is one of the bigger deals. So they don't stitch you back up and you've got cancer cells internally that can move around. Mohs makes sure it's very thorough. And the only way, I'll be honest with you, it's the only way you ever want to have a removal done with the trained experts in the Mohs procedure at southernskiesdermatology.com. Southernskiesdermatology.com. All right, real quick, Supreme Court says Alabama can use, I'm reinterpreting what others are seeing that have time to read the ruling. Ruling just came down 20 minutes ago. The court has vacated the original lower court order requiring Alabama to use that special master map, that 3-judge map, and the state will be allowed to move forward with the plan they looked at last week. So that sounds to me, they didn't leave themselves too much room to change to a complete constitutional map, but they just want to revert to the maps they had passed prior to that lawsuit and that court case. So the court case is vacated. That's over. That was just a nightmare for the state and wrongly decided. Now the Supreme Court has thrown it out. And so we'll continue to cover this fresh off the hotlines, fresh off. I was going to say fresh off the presses, but we don't have presses anymore. We don't print news on paper anymore. But right here, just you're getting the breaking news right here this afternoon here on the show. Let's get Greg in here. We'll do some phone calls on this if you're confused or want to just chat about it or yell about it or stomp your feet like you got the Holy Ghost like that idiot up in Tennessee. Go ahead. Greg, what you got, man?
I saw that. I saw that. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that guy's weird.
I'm going to make a prediction here that there will be a majority Democrat, and I'm not talking race. I'm talking majority Democrat. Completely, the train left without me.
I'm listening.
One of the you've ever been there? One of the regions and state is going to be a majority Democrat, and I said it's going to be North Alabama because of the changing demographics and the largest city in the state, Huntsville.
Yeah.
So I look for that, and with the growth of the Space Command and the FBI, you've got government functionaries that are going to be wrapping that place up soon. So I look for that. But I called about one of the funniest ads I've seen for one of the guys running for state auditor, Chin. He has a globe and he's pointing to Taiwan, and then he runs his finger all the way to America. Like, I was born in America. His parents are from Taiwan. And I don't know if you've seen it. He puts on the MAGA hat, and when he has the framed picture of Tommy Tuberville he puts on his desk, I about fell off my couch.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard. I don't know if you're a fan of adult animation, but King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Just reminded me. My wife and I think she brought it up. One of Hank's neighbors moves in, and so they ask, "Are you Japanese or Chinese?" And he says, "I'm not going to fake an Asian accent." He said, "I'm from Laos, a landlocked country in Southeast Asia." And there's this long pause, and then Hank says, "So are you Chinese or Japanese?" So I was just that this is. I hope he wins, just so that he can defend the fact that he was born in America. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
This was the right move, and I hate that it took so long. And the gerrymandering of districts, I would love to see that completely come to an end. I have seen some proposed maps where it was how it was intended, tight and contiguous, where you don't have these octopi spreading all over states. I think that would bring a change to the electorate across the country. And some of the ones I've seen could be an increase of 25 or 30 Republican seats as things are right now. But of course, those are things long down the road, and there will be fights. I don't know if there's going to be much of a fight from the Democrats on this, and I just look for it to go back to the way it was before they added that second gerrymandered district. I think it's like, yeah, let's just roll with this for the next couple of cycles.
Yeah, a lot of folks would be comfortable with that for sure. Yeah, the political temperature would be to avoid the fight and use the default 6-1 map. But if the Democrats were in charge of this state, if the that's not how they play it. Democrats would pass that 7-0 map this afternoon. They would have been ready because they know how to fight. They know how to do what's to their advantage.
They would.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%. Well, all right. Remember, vote for the Japanese, Chinese, Taiwanese guy for state auditor. He deserves our vote.
He's a nice guy.
Buddy.
I met him at an 1819 event. It's the first time I'd ever met him, and he knows everybody that I know. But he's newer to the political scene. Thanks, Greg. He's newer to the political scene than he wasn't around back in my day. So there are a lot of new, fresh faces that are trying to get into the Alabama political scene, and some of them are pretty charming. I'll look that ad up. I haven't seen it. The ads have been more. I got a note this weekend from one of our listeners. I hadn't had a chance to respond to all these, but they're as frustrated with I am about the silliness and the insincerity of almost every political ad running nowadays. It's just so the lack of imagination and talent involved in some of this ad production is just stunning. But we only have another week or so to endure it, and except for the runoff, and then they can go back to doing their jobs and ignoring us and not giving a damn what we think. Right now they need your vote, so they're running all this stuff to make you think they're all patriotic farmers with guns. Let me go back to the ruling real quick. I'm just trying to keep an eye because I'm waiting to see, particularly from Kay Ivey's office, if they don't have a freaking, this is 30 minutes old, and I know, but if they don't get it in the news cycle this afternoon, we shouldn't be waiting until tomorrow to see what the damn governor says or how they're going to respond to the court, giving them what they've been begging for 10 days now. So the court in a 6-3 ruling told Alabama the old case is vacated. Then the question becomes, are they just go? I know I'm being repetitive, but I got to keep getting the information out while we wait for any other reactions. We're going to stick with the 6-1 map, or are they going to have some kiwis and just go ahead and draw constitutional maps? Some people will just want to bide their time and wait till the 2030 census. By the way, Greg's premise about the changing nature of the state, I do believe he's got something to say. I think he's correct. Alabama and the Huntsville area, it could very much be like Richmond, Virginia, and Northern Virginia in a few years because it's becoming largely a gigantic federal town. Right now, it's solidly in the hands of the Republicans, but slowly as it grows and grows and grows, and that growth is amazing. Huntsville's an amazing, wonderful city in our state. It will be mostly government tied jobs, which will vote to preserve government. And that could change the nature of how the whole state votes. You could wind up with a Democrat district in northern Alabama in the coming years. That would have to be, of course, after the currently drawn maps. Well, there's that. We've got news this afternoon. I'll repeat all that and get more of your phone calls on it and see if we can get reaction from either the House and Senate leaders and or the governor to this Supreme Court ruling in the state's favor this afternoon. All right, back here in just a minute. Y'all hang on, lots to do. We're doing it one at a time. Leland Live. By the way, if you want to get in, 545-9950 is the phone number, 545-9950. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Here we go. It's 5:30. Whoa, there it is. Yeah, it's 5:35. Leland Live. Y'all welcome back in here. Let's get Thomas over here on the hotline as we move right along with this breaking news afternoon. Thomas is over, of course, with Stockton Mortgage. Thomas, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, how are you doing this evening?
Quite well.
Hey, man, we had a fantastic weekend. Thank you for filling in for me on Thursday and Friday. We had a little getaway for my wife for, Mother's Day, and hope all the mothers out there had a fantastic weekend. And, man, I want to tell you a great story that success. We've talked about a lot about purchases recently, but man, this one, we had a local family contacted us and about a refinance. They needed some help with saving some bills, and they had, those credit cards with all the expense and everything that's been going around with, just credit card. Everything is more expensive right now. And they had ran up some credit cards just trying to pay for kids were in school, and I know everybody's feeling the crunch with higher gas prices, higher everything right now. And so they had run up some credit card debt with kids in school, had a couple of kids in college. And so they called us, and they had plenty of equity in their home, and we were able to refinance them and pay off all their credit card debt, paid off a car that they still owed money on, and were able to get them. Also, they needed about $20,000 to finish paying some tuition for this coming year that they would need. So they were able to put $20,000 away, and we saved them $1,250 a month off of their bills, and combined their mortgage, credit card debt, and paid off that car, plus give them $20,000 back and saved them $1,250 a month. So that was a tremendous savings for that family. So if anybody out there is looking to save money and maybe feeling the credit crunch right now, give us a call. Let us see what we can do for you. 205-859-8859 or savewithstockton.com.
Savewithstockton.com. Thomas, we'll chat with you tomorrow, my friend.
Yes, man. All right, thanks so much. All right, bye-bye.
So much going on this afternoon, trying to get to each one of these stories as quickly as we can. Let me do a couple of more calls on the Supreme Court ruling today, and I got a little more clarity over what. Oh, okay, JJ dropped off. Now I can just keep going with that. Then thank you, AJ. Apparently, this is the process, according to others that are reading the ruling. Again, I'm over here talking to you live, so being able to thumb through a judicial ruling is a little difficult. But others who've been able to post about it, some sources that I do trust that are posted online, are saying that the cases came through. There's kind of two cases. One is more about the congressional maps and the Senate maps, and then the state House maps. And so all of those were under subject to court rulings and challenges based on the race-based districting procedures that have been going on. So what the court has done is, if this is correct, they've really remanded those cases back to the districts and either the district court or the appellate court, the 11th Circuit, where they came from. And those courts may also have to, I suppose, make some ruling or concurrence to move forward with this for it to be official. Now, that may be a technical argument. If those courts are being fair to the state of Alabama, they'll rule quickly because time is of the essence. There's a lot in suspense waiting on the court to get this decision to us. So, but here we are, a little over a week out. I think it would have been 2 weeks Wednesday when the landmark decision came down. I'll keep reading the reviews of what the court did, and still waiting on response from some of the state leaders. You would think they'd have those statements ready to go, but they probably all left by now. It's after 5 o'clock. Line 4 is JJ in Birmingham. Let's go back to JJ. Get a call in here. JJ, what do you know?
Nothing. I'm going to ask you. I've been in the car, and I just heard bits and pieces. So the last ruling was, it's in other words, we're looking at our legislators to do something now. Is that right?
Yeah, well, they've got the power. Now they've got the authority and the clearance from the Supreme Court that it's not going to get tangled up in that previous case. they can go back and redraw the state maps.
Okay, so
And
that's
so we're
what I
waiting on
thought.
them.
I thought
Yeah.
you said that right before I got out of the car. And
Yeah.
so I think now is the time for us to start, everybody that can hear you, to start calling our legislators. I say calling, but contacting them and tell them, what we think about this, so they won't do the things that you have been talking about how they might do if they weasel back into the past.
Well,
So
they are more intimidated by the protesters last week than they've
yeah, I
probably
know.
heard more from.
I,
Well, they
that's
probably
so
heard
silly.
more
I
from
mean,
them than us.
who is going to put them in office? Is it going to be the Democrats or
Right.
the Republicans? Are they expecting the Democrats to vote for them?
I
And
would
so,
say.
you know,
Go ahead, JJ. I'm sorry.
I
You go
was
ahead.
just saying, everybody who cares about this, who's listening to you, should be contacting their legislators tomorrow. I guess they're gone for the day or whatever, but you can leave whatever kind of message you want. But I think at least we'll be doing our part. That's the way I see it. We can't just sit on our hands. That we will be doing our part, in my view. But thank you, Leland.
Thank you, JJ. She said that well. I mean, I think, folks, you got to be heard right now because they're either going to shove through that 6-1 map to try to keep the heat down, or they're going to get heat from their own constituents. And I would remind our legislator of what just happened in Indiana. Now there are a couple other procedural things that need to take place before the legislature can convene on this. I think it's got to come back down through the other courts, and they're going to have to wait on some more paperwork and have no idea how long that's going to take. But the Supreme Court seems very, very clear to those lower courts which way they want them to rule and administer what's left of those previous cases. So there'll be a lot of back and forth over the next probably 48 hours. But we need some clarity from state leaders, and we need it now because the heat starts this afternoon from people that want a 7-0 map because they think Alabama. Again, we're in a national battle against socialism and communism in this country. That's not an overstatement. It's been said repeatedly, the Democrats have now become the Communist Party. These rhinos and soft Republicans, they're kind of like the old Democrats. And then you got people just in different frames of mind to push forward different measures in the country. And that fight starts with the midterm elections. We all know that. I mean, I know I'm stating the obvious. By the way, Huey Tampon, Tommy and the whole team over there ready to get you outfitted with whatever you need. They constantly have deals coming up. And lately we've been talking about these utility trailers. For a long time, we talked mostly just about their gun counter. And they are a gun store with that incredible counter back there with handguns and tactical weapons and any kind of hunting stuff that you would want. But of course, Tommy, if he gets a deal, he brings it back there to the shop, and he has gotten a lineup of these Larimore trailers that are made here in Alabama. They're utility trailers, single axle, fold down ramp, very durable, well built, good for everything. You see them all over the road. I mean, I don't even know how people get by without one, and they've got them for you. Huey Tampon, $14.99 is the starting price on these things. You got different various configurations and models, and they'll get you financed. Tommy will take care of the financing part of it if you just don't want to come out of pocket right now. They're good like that over at the pawn shop. So go see them over on Brook Lane Drive if you live in Hueytown, or even if you just live all over and want to get your hands on a trailer. Be sure and go ahead and call them ahead of time. I don't know what ball size they use, but make sure you got the materials or the hits that you need to tow that thing away, and then go get you one and get it financed at Hueytown Pawn. Again, Brook Lane Drive, Hueytown Pawn. All right, I guess let's just stick with the map story because it's been with us for so long and most of the show today as we've watched these other states and their rulings, and didn't know if this is going to take 10 minutes or 10 days after the 4 o'clock deadline today, and boom, within an hour, the court had made its 6-3 decision. So now what? And that's kind of a little bit of a mystery here. We know that the legislature authorized the governor to delay the election. It would seem to me that the governor's office would immediately do that. Set it, delay it, start the election date, unless some of that's been done and I missed it. Then they've got to reconvene and get the proper map put through and put up with the histrionics of the Democrats doing the stupid stuff they did the other day, which is pointless and base and is not our process. Our process is to show up, deliberate, and vote. These people want to yell and scream and get arrested and flop in the floor and act like they're part of some movement. The thing is, look, we're a nation of laws. The Supreme Court's ruled. Them's the breaks. There are court cases like this throughout the history of this country that go and don't go the way people want them to, but we press on as a nation, and that's where we are right now as we head into the midterms. Now it's as the old timers would say, it's time for the nut cutting. This is the part where Alabama, our legislative delegation has an opportunity and a responsibility to get this right and to do it with haste and speed so that we can get on with these midterms and people know where they're running, where they're voting. There's a lot that has to happen. I was thinking the other day about the ballot printing operations, which largely come down to the probate offices in the state do the ballot printing for the most part. And some of them had already gone about the business of printing up ballots and getting those ready, but now they can't go to the presses. So it's so confusing. We've got the ongoing statewide elections and other elections that will go forward on Tuesday, a week from Tuesday. These other races may get set aside for the primary. Well, again, then you got to redraw lines. Then you got to requalify all the candidates. The parties have got to figure out how to do that. Some of them have paid fees and they're already in the race and they want to continue running. Maybe they just get moved over to a different race. Others are going to decide to run because now the lines have changed and there's an advantage. Again, when you're dealing with primaries, you're talking about Republicans running against Republicans, Democrats against Democrats. So that's going to change the calculus for quite a few people as this moves forward. So they're now going to wait for the legislature to do their work. And I don't even know what the time frame is going to be. So fun stuff, interesting stuff, historic stuff going down with the Supreme Court and the state. Should be an interesting week. You know we're going to be on it. This is what we do. Storm Restoration Roofing, bringing you the show tonight. Greg Nelson and his whole, I was talking about that movie, that McConaughey movie. Somebody told me that Greg's house was under consideration for part of that movie that's coming out with Matthew McConaughey. I didn't know that. I didn't talk to Greg about it. I know some of the production did take place over near Pell City, but here's an Alabama-based movie coming out. Anyway, let's talk about your roof. As we're in the middle of storm season, want to make sure you're taking good care of your house. Boy, it all counts on your roof, keeping that rain out and taking care of you. And we always talk about our roof over our head. Well, it's real important that, especially if you're a little out of date, maybe your roof's gotten old, that they do have lifespans. They do expire. Let Greg come and help and get that project for you. He's got finance companies that can help you with either scenario, whether it's an insurance claim and you're going to need some help maybe with that high deductible, or it's a full-on project and you're not going to deal with your insurance, but you got to pay out of pocket. He's got companies that can help you make that happen. And what you'll know with Greg at Storm Restoration is it's going to be done right. And if it is an insurance claim, he knows all the ropes, all the ins and outs of filing that claim and doing it right so you get covered. That's so important with when you've had damage. You do have a window to get that stuff turned in, but you got to document it. You got to prove your case in a lot of ways to these adjusters. And Greg's got teams, largely his own family that work there in the business, that specialize in dealing with the insurance company so that everything goes smoothly. You get your roof on and everybody's happy. Y'all, here's that number, and you can always reach out to me to try to get it. I'm a little slow on the trigger sometimes with all the social media contacts, but if you message me, I'll try to get you the number. But best thing to do is to jot it down, stick it somewhere in case you do have an emergency. And here's the number, 205-542-3531, 205-542-3531, Storm Restoration Roofing. Back here in just a minute. All right, man, let's sweep up and get out of here. Make way for Breaking Bread. Mandu bringing you the show tonight. Man, if you've been struggling this summer or at any time to try to get yourself back in shape, maybe you never were in shape. Maybe you just want to return to the glory days, but gyms suck and they're less effective as you get older. And let's face it, sometimes in life you go through mobility issues and other things that slow you down. Mandu could be the breakthrough that you need to make stuff happen again. It is so efficient. This is a electronic muscle stimulation. It's not weights and pulleys and that kind of resistance training. The electronic machine actually provides the resistance through this specialized suit that you put on, and it flexes your muscles. It feels really weird, but man, do you know it when you're done? You can only do it for 15 minutes. Get your whole body in that 15 minutes. Try doing that in the gym. They say it's the equivalent of 6 hours of hard work in the gym. It's so intense, you can't come back every day. You got to give it some space so that your body can adjust. Then you do it again a few days later. Next thing you know, you got results. It'll make you feel proud and strong again. My thinking is when you feel good and strong like that and you got good exercise habits, you wind up eating better. You wind up making better other choices. Wind up taking a few more laps and getting your steps in every day and doing the right things that get you on a good loop. It's not a doom loop, but not a spiral, but a good loop. It starts with Mandu. Y'all try them out. You can do it in Homewood. Paul's a great guy. They'll let you try it for free. MANDUU.com. Go in there first and fill out the pre-qualification forms because you got to make sure that you're medically eligible to do this. No point in driving all the way over there. They can do that online, and then you show up. They'll let you try it for free and see what you think. Sign up for one of the classes, and again, you get a personal trainer in your private dressing room every time you go. It's Mandu, MANDUU. Locations in Tuscaloosa and Huntsville as well as they continue to grow here in Alabama. Mandu.com. All right, back to the breaking news, and now it's hit the national wires. Still no word from state officials as to what the plan is next. Maybe they've got to huddle tonight and figure it out. But basically, the Supreme Court has said the old forced map is moot. It's vacated. They've got to start over and redraw a map for this election year. The big question is going to be, are they going to stick with a previously drawn map, making this technically a 6-1 state, 6 majority Republican districts versus one Democrat district, or do things all the way across and just redraw the maps according to the proper standard that the Supreme Court set with the Calais case just a few days ago. Big turn of events expected, not a surprise at all. It was just the timing of it and when it would come out. Again, there was a 4:00 deadline for the litigants to get their arguments in. Supreme Court immediately ruled, and boom, Alabama is now squarely, just like other states. Mississippi got clearance today. Louisiana and Tennessee are good to go. Florida's already done it. Texas has been upheld. Here we go with the in the middle of a primary almost. We haven't, I guess technically there might have been some votes already. We don't do a lot of early voting. There may have been some absentee voting in the state, but all that can get easily redone as we'll have to put off the primary for these congressional races. So a little recap of everything in the last hour. One more time for Birmingham Broker, and we're going to get out of here. BHAMBroker.com. Y'all get downtown. If you got a car, truck, or SUV for sale, y'all get that sold and do it with Birmingham Broker. They know what it's should be priced at. They understand what the market's at. It moves. You may have a nice truck or a nice car, but sometimes you can get more than at other times. And this is exactly what they excel in, is getting these things done. So you don't have to sweat it. I love it. I love everything about what Craig and Keith do. Get more money than doing it by yourself, with less headaches than doing it by yourself, and way more than when you go to trade one in and get a wholesale price. They're downtown Birmingham on 4th Avenue South. Swing by there and see them, or get an appointment and roll up in there and let them see what they can do for you. It is this is the smart way to get this kind of deal done. It's with Birmingham Broker. BHAMBroker.com, BHAMBroker.com. Stay tuned for our brothers at Breaking Bread, and we'll see y'all tomorrow at 2.
All right. Goodbye, AJ.